Hi, and here I am again, Andy XL, back with another NFXL podcast. This is going to be week 2 of my week 5 preview. Um, so let's start with the 6 games in the early Sunday slot. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Indianapolis Colts is the first game I'll look at. So the Raiders have lost their last 3 and playing catch up against their strong AFC West rivals is not somewhere that they need to be. So they have to find a way to win this one. The Colts put a decent showing up at the Rams in week 4, but went down to their first defeat of the season. So getting back to winning ways looks a must if they want to keep control of the AFC South and avoid letting the Jags and the Texans take advantage of any slip up here. Now the Colts saw a couple of picks from Daniel Jones in their week 4 loss, but AD Mitchell was the one that made the costly errors. In truth, literally throwing a TD away as he was about to walk into the end zone and being called for a costly hold on a big Jonathan Taylor run for a TD that was called back. So obviously Mitchell will need to avoid having a negative effect this week. So without those errors, or even one of them, the Colts could well have beaten the Rams and be 4-0. So they're still in good form. The Raiders saw a second error-prone performance from Geno Smith in consecutive weeks, which undid a big game from Ashton Jonty last week, and losing offensive tackle Colton Miller will not help either Smith or Jonty to succeed in this game. The Colts have been strong on defence this season, so Smith and Jonty may well struggle in this one, and as such, I see a comfortable win for the Colts here. I'm going to go for the Colts by 27-19. So moving on to the New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints. The Giants got their first win of the season with rookie Jackson Dart taking over at quarterback, but suffered the hugely morale-damaging loss of star wide receiver Malik Nabers in Week 4. The Saints remain winless despite a credit-worthy showing in Buffalo, so both the teams simply have to win this one. The Saints are surely not going to make the postseason, but a loss here would make that all but impossible for them to do, as they would need to go 10-2 for the rest of the season to do so. The Giants' bubble of dart-fed optimism could burst if they lose to the Saints here, and would leave them needing to go 9-3 the rest of the way to make the postseason, which would be a very steep hill for them to climb. So both teams need to win. The Giants' excellent pass rush had its way with an injury-plagued Chargers O-line last week, so it will be a key to this game as to whether they can repeat that performance against the Saints. And of course, Dart had a strong debut performance, and they will need him to repeat that too if they're going to get a win here, especially considering the loss of Nabers, which is a massive blow and will mean the likes of Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton need to step up to fill that void. But the ground game, led by rookie Cam Scattergo, I think Tyrone Tracy might be back for this one as well, could be the offensive element that could be decisive here. The Giants' pass rush is a force to be reckoned with, and I think they will get plenty of joy here. So I'm going for a Giants win as the defense restricts the Saints scoring and the Giants' ground game gets them in the end zone enough to win. So the Giants by 24-17 is my prediction there. Dallas Cowboys at the New York Jets. So the defenseless Cowboys have 1.5 wins, 1.5 wins. The Jets fell to 0-4 against the Dolphins in Week 4, is their opponents this week. So again, this is a must-win for both teams if they to cling to their slim hopes of making the postseason. The Jets could have plenty of joy passing the ball against the Cowboys, as everybody else has. The problem is that the Jets do not tend to throw the ball deep and do not really have the receivers suited to this style of offense. And with running back Braylon Allen out for this game, they will not be able to lean on the ground game as much in this one either. Assuming CD Lamb is out for this one, Sauce Gardner will surely be detailed to George Pickens plenty in this game. But the Cowboys do have the likes of Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, and Ryan Flournoy, as well as a decent ground game to allow Dak Prescott and the offense to put points on the board against most defenses. Miles Sanders might be missing for this one, so we could see Jaden Blue for the first time at running back behind Javonte Williams. The Cowboys will need to sort out their O-line here. So how well they protect Prescott could be decisive. They need to give him the protection to find those receivers. This is going to be a close one, but I'll take the Cowboys to edge it by 27-23. Denver Broncos at Philadelphia Eagles. The Broncos are the latest to try and take down the reigning champions, coming into this one 2-2. This game is a bit of a free hit for them, as falling to 2-3 would not significantly hurt their wildcard hopes in the AFC, but a win would significantly boost those hopes and keep them right in the race for the AFC West title race. For the Eagles, getting to 5-0 would get them halfway to the postseason, in fact, because 10 wins will do it, and keep them in possession of the top seeding in the NFC. Lose it, and the Lions and Commanders will be boosted ahead of their games in the late slot. The Eagles may have survived in the heat of Tampa, but they have a number of players banged up after that game, notably on the O&D line. So how healthy they are in those areas, particularly the O-line, will be a factor in this one. As the O-line I mentioned, because the Broncos have a good defense, and how their D-line fares against that Eagles O-line could be crucial here, as the Broncos have to challenge the Eagles in Philly. But the Denver offense and Bo Nix will also need to play its best if they are to do much through the air. I have to go for the Eagles to get win number 5 here, as I do not see the Broncos being able to put enough points on the board against this Philly D. So I'm going to go Philly by 27-20. Miami Dolphins at Carolina Panthers. Two teams with a win apiece meet here. One will come out of week 5 back in their conference wildcard race for sure. The other will come out of week 5 with the look of a team that has little to play for this season. The Panthers winning week 3 over the Falcons, look like the outlier on their season. In the other 3 games, they have scored an average of just 15 points per game, while conceding an average of just under 32 a game. Bryce Young was benched at quarterback last week. I'm assuming he's going to start again this week, but otherwise it'll be Andy Dalton. Otherwise, if Young stinks the place up again, Dalton might appear at some point. The Panthers' pass defense is pretty good, but the rest of the team are far from good at the moment. Even though the Dolphins have lost Tyreek Hill, that pass D will be tested by Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Darren Lazarus Waller as he's come back from nowhere in this game, though. The Dolphins have been better week on week as the season has progressed thus far, and I fancy them to continue on that upward curve by getting the win here. But it'll be close. 23-20 for the Dolphins is how I've got it. Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. And here we have another matchup between one-win teams. But both of these teams came into the season as potential title contenders, which cannot be said of the Dolphins and Panthers. The Texans arrive here off the back of a first win of the campaign over a bad Titans team. The Ravens lost to the Chiefs, but more concerningly, are injury plagued ahead of this game that both teams badly need to win to rekindle their preseason hopes. The loser will fall to 1-4 and out of the top 10 in the AFC rankings. Obviously, the winner gets to 2-3 and is kind of back in the picture. The Texans' D is built around its pass rush, so if they can get into the backfield to get to what is likely to be a less mobile Cooper Rush than Lamar Jackson would be, and disrupt the Ravens' passing attack, then that could be a good thing for them. If Jackson is out, well, he is, there will be a big onus on the Ravens' running game to deliver. The Texans have been pretty good in run D this season, and whilst it is dangerous to say so, for me, there are signs that Derrick Henry's numbers are on the wane in his 10th season as he approaches his 32nd birthday, and with a ton of miles, or in his case, 11,707 rushing yards on his clock, so to speak. And the next positive for the Texans is how banged up the Ravens' D is, which is critical as the Texans' O-line has been so poor this season. Against the depleted Ravens D-line, they may be able to stand up in this one, allowing CJ Stroud time to deliver to his receivers. All sounds good for the Texans then, but these are still the Baltimore Ravens and on home territory, so there will be a tough out for Houston in this one. A bit like, the Thursday night game that surprised us all. Pre-season, it would have been unimaginable for either of these teams to be 1-4 after 5 weeks. But one of them is going to be precisely that. I rarely put the onus on one player to decide a game for a team, but this is a rare occasion where I see that as a case. I think for the Ravens to win, Derrick Henry needs to have a 100-yard rushing game and score on the ground. For the Texans to win, CJ Stroud needs to pass for 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Instinctively, I think both might hit these targets, making it a very close one to call. but my gut feeling is the Texans will get a win here as Nico Collins dominates the Ravens secondary. So by the tightest of margins, I'm going to go for the Texans by 24-23. So moving on to the late slot where we have 4 games, starting with the Tennessee Titans at the Arizona Cardinals. The Titans would not have had much hope of success in 2025, but right now the winless Titans are on a downward slope that is getting more and more slippery. So what makes this a must? So this makes this a must-win for the Cardinals if they have to keep pace in the NFC West. The Titans ranked 28th or lower for pass and rush offense, and also for run defense, and a slightly better 19th for pass defense, which is in part because teams do not pass against them because they can run through them all day. The Cardinals ranked 18th and 20th for pass offense and defense, but 24th against the run. Well, they have been strong in terms of ground offense, where they ranked 6th in the league, but they've got problems there. You'd think they would run all day, given that they're 6th in the league, but they've lost James Conner for this game, and they rushed for 89 yards last week against Seattle, with quarterback Kyler Murray accounting for 41 of those yards. And now they've lost Trey Benson too, so what potentially puts the onus on Murray and the receiving corps to deliver. 2 fits from Murray proved costly in that game, and once again I'm going against my usual MO and making this game against one player, namely Kyler Murray. And to repeat myself like a broken record from previous weeks, Murray makes bad decisions when pressured. But outside of Jeffrey Simmons, the Titans pretty much offer no threat in that regard. So I see Murray having a pretty trouble-free game as a passer and also doing plenty on the ground as the Cardinals get a comfortable win here. The Titans secondary have struggled to cope with big receivers this season. Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce and Courtland Sutton have all done well against them this season. And the Cardinals having 4 receivers at 6'2" or taller in Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Zay Jones, who might not play in this one, and tight end Trey McBride, all of which are taller than the tallest member of the Titans secondary. So all of that points to a comfortable Cardinals win. So I'm going for the Cardinals by 27-16. Excuse me. Next game up, Tampa Bay Bucks at the Seattle Seahawks. The battered Bucks lost to the Eagles in week 4, but still put up a spirited showing in that one. A win here would see them extend their lead in the NFC South, with the chasing Falcons on bye this week. Seattle have got to 3-1 and hold a share of the NFC West coming into this week. They've now got the 49ers to catch. A win here would keep them in a 2-way tie with said 49ers. A loss will see them slip into a possible 3-way tie for second in their very competitive division. The injury bug continues to bite the Bucks really hard, and now Bucky Irvin has joined the long list of absentees for them. And I think Ben Morrison's out for this game at corner as well. And Hassan Reddick and Greg Gaines got hurt in last week's game. So the defense looks pretty depleted or weakened anyway by injury and injury concerns. And going to Seattle is always a tough task, even if you're fully healthy. So, you know, they will have to hope that Chris Godwin fares better in his second game back from injury in this one if they're going to pull off a win. The Bucks have struggled to punch it in on the ground, and the Seahawks have given up fewer rushing touchdowns than any other teams this season. So if the Bucks are to score in this game, Baker Mayfield will have to deliver them via airmail, which is where Godwin and Emeka Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, they're going to have to come up big this game. The Seahawks have run a pretty balanced offense this season, but have generally looked and been able to punch it in on the ground. But that is the Bucks' defensive strength, with the superb Vita Vea blocking the way to pay dirt for opposing running backs. So red zone efficiency is always important, but it's going to be even more critical than usual in this game. I think the Bucks and Mayfield will find a way to get scores, whereas Vita Vea and co will prevent the Seahawks from doing likewise more often than not. So I'm going to go for the Bucks to pull off a win in Seattle here by 24-19. Right, Detroit Lions at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Lions, along with the Eagles and Bills, are the best teams in the NFL right now and will look for a 4th consecutive win in Cincy to keep them top of the NFC North and on the tail feathers of the Eagles in the race for the top seeded in the NFC. The toiling burrowless Bengals, well, it could be called Bungles at the moment, need a win here to restore flagging confidence levels in what is becoming a wide open AFC North after the injury to Burrow and all of Baltimore's injury issues. The Lions secondary, however, is really banged up right now, so the Bengals could be able to benefit in that regard, and certainly Jake Browning will need to find some form in this game. And he's the primary reason why the offense has toiled since Burrow went down. And any team that cannot score plenty is going to struggle badly against the Lions. And that is what I think will end up happening here, as the Lions probably go on to win this fairly easily. Although I do think the Bengals will be able to score against the Lions' depleted secondary. The Lions will simply dominate time of possession via the ground game, I think, and pound the Bengals into submission. So I'm going to go for 34-24 to the Lions in that one. Washington Commanders at Los Angeles Chargers. Two teams are looking to overhaul powerhouse divisional champions meet here after both lost in week 4. The Commanders were badly banged up on offense last week and will need to get some of their weapons back for this one. The Chargers cannot use that excuse after they lost to the Giants last week, although the O-line really struggled health-wise in that one. The Commanders need this one to keep the Eagles in sight. The Chargers need it to avoid giving the Chiefs and the Broncos, for that matter, the chance to pull level with them at the top of the AFC West. This week's injury report is going to be critical ahead of this clash, as the Chargers have that battered and depleted O-line that needs to see some of its starters back for this one, whereas the Commanders are going to have Jaden Daniels back and healthy, but they are still likely to be out and look like they're going to be without. I think they've been confirmed now. They're going to be without Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown at wide receiver. So the Chargers O-line has to be able to protect Justin Herbert and open passing lanes and running lanes for Amari Hampton as well, for that matter. Or the Chargers D will need to have a big game for them to get their 4th win of the season. And the Commanders really need Daniels back and firing, as the Chargers have a pretty good pass rush. So his elusiveness could be significant in avoiding sacks and pressures. But without 2 wide receivers, he's still going to have issues there. The Chargers, so they'll probably look to the run game quite a lot here. The Chargers' O-line issues could be their undoing here. And that's what I think might end up happening. The Commanders end up being able to run the ball, and they take a narrow win here, 27-23. So moving on to the late game, the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to pose a question here. Can we crown the Bills as divisional champions already? Well, if they win this one, we probably can. The so far impeccable Bills have the chance to establish a 3-game lead in the AFC East. And if they can beat the Patriots in week 5, in doing so, they would guarantee at least a share of the head-to-head tiebreak with the Pats too. So a loss here for the Pats will pretty much make the Bills a lock to win the division after just 5 weeks of the season. In truth, the Pats' postseason hopes this season were surely via the wildcard route rather than winning the division. So another team with a bit of a free hit this week is what they are. A win would significantly improve their wildcard hopes. A loss would not significantly damage them. Bills have scored 30-plus points in every game this season, and I think they'll do so again here. So how do the Patriots get 30 points or more to compete with them? Well, the Bills' run defense ranks 25th in the league last season, so it will have to be via the run for the Pats. But the Bills' issues have been largely due to the absence of Ed Oliver and Matt Milano from the Bills' D-line. If either or both of them make it back for this game, the Pats will really struggle to run the ball effectively. And even if they're not, the Pats rank 20th in the league for rush offense, so it's not an area of strength for them. All of which points to an easy Bills win, and that is what will happen here. I've got it by 34 points to 20. So let's go to the Monday night game, Kansas City Chiefs at the Jacksonville Jags. Before the season started, if you said one of these teams was going to be 3-1 and the other 2-2, you would have had them the other way round. So if the Jags can pull off another surprise win here and get to 4-1, that would give their postseason hopes a major boost. Or can the Chiefs get the win to get above 500 and put them at the front of the AFC wildcard pack and certainly keep them right in contention for the AFC West title race. Despite their injuries on offense, Patrick Mahomes' excellence has still kept the Chiefs in the top 10 in the league for pass offense. So, excuse me, but they have been susceptible defensively against the pass. They have mid-ranks fallen against the run. So if the Jags are to pull off a win here, now is the time for Trevor Lawrence to deliver as a passer and give the Jags and himself a new level of confidence by taking down the Chiefs and Mahomes. Whilst Lawrence will need to play well, it's the Jags' run D and their ground attack that has been the reason they are now 3-1. Their D ranks third in the league against the run, and the ground attack ranks sixth. But with the Chiefs being good against the run and getting closer to full strength in their receiving corps, I have to think this one will go to the Chiefs as Spags and Reed will scheme to stop the Jags' ground game and put the onus on Trevor Lawrence to be better than Mahomes. Good luck with that one, Trevor. I mean, anybody who tries to be better than Patrick Mahomes, it's a tough ask. So I'm going to go for the Chiefs to take that one, 27-20. And that rounds out part 2 and completes my week 5 preview. So let's see how I do in terms of my predictions this week. And I hope you all enjoy this week's action. See you soon.